Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 157th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Disney's Someone Hater Jaden.
Howdy.
Decision paralysis. I just got
Yeah.
decision paralysis where I didn't know which one to say. Oh, man. And we've also got here... Well, I was going to say Dave Filoni, but he looks nothing like Dave Filoni anymore. We got Indiana Jones, the Soul Slayer, the Zelda number one fanboy. I don't know, whatever. Luke's here.
Howdy.
Howdy. Welcome. Yeah, that does sort of just aesthetically fit to say howdy with the hat on, you know? And you've got that mug that sort of looks like it's got sort of tin can vibes, you know, when you'd sit around the campfire. I reckon.
Well, it's R2D2, but...
Oh, well, the other side, it sort of looked, I don't know. It's actually, yeah, I don't know.
The reflective
agrees with me.
kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which opened in the US on May 22nd, 2008. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. It's an action-adventure film. And the synopsis says, in 1957, Indiana Jones becomes strangled in a Soviet plot to uncover the secret behind mysterious artifacts known as the Crystal Skulls. Wow. Pretty sick. All right, Jaden, what do you think of this film and how many times have you seen it?
I think this is the one I've seen the most, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just it being the most modern one. I feel like it was on TV a bit more as well when I was younger. Because going through this one, although I wasn't paying much attention because it was kind of in the background while I was doing shit, there was still just so many things that I could pick up that I was just
Totally
like,
fine.
I know where this is going. Oh yeah, I know this. So I was like, okay, I think this is like the one I've seen the most familiar with. And definitely the best one. But like the thing that struck me most about it is that it feels like Indiana Jones. It still feels like an Indiana Jones film to me, which I feel like the way that people talk about it, I feel like they disagree with that fact. But like, you know, it's got all the same shit, and it's got you know, Indy doing this stuff. It's got, you know, your Eastern European villains. It's got your archaeological finds and shit. Like, it feels like Indiana Jones. And I think that's like the greatest thing that you can like say about the film. So I don't know, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. That's totally fair. I think I'm in the same boat. I think I've seen this the most. I have a strange memory actually of like back in the day renting this. Oh, this is such a specific thing, like renting it on Apple Store or iTunes, I guess it was at the time, and like watching it multiple times, like in the period that you could access it while it was rented. Like for some reason, just like I think I have this memory of like watching it on an iPod at some point. I was like, why was I doing this? Oh, it's so weird. But yeah, I don't know. Like at first, I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was perfectly consistent with the franchise. I still think overall it's consistent with the franchise. I don't know, but the second half did lose my attention quite a bit. There wasn't, I don't know, enough going on content-wise, which I thought was that engaging overall. It was a bit slow at times. But yeah, no, there wasn't much really that felt out of place. And this still, honestly, might rank above Raiders for me at this point. So it has some pretty enjoyable scenes, I thought, as well. So definitely not too bad, especially compared, Jane's totally right, compared to its reputation as well. It was surprising. I sort of knowing the reputation, remembering snippets, I sort of thought this might be a bit more of a wacky show, just talking shit about it than I expected. But watching it, it's like, oh yeah, there's some things, but like, yeah, it's pretty in line, or more, at least more so than I thought, with its predecessors. Luke, how do you feel about this film? What's the more traditional perspective? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I actually sort of agree with both of you. I used to watch this movie a lot, and I remember I used to have this it was one of those books that had a soundboard on the side, and if you press the sound, it would, like, if you press the button, it would make a sound, and so you would read along the storybook, and it'll be like, Indy cracked his whip, and then you press the whip button, and it goes whoosh, and like makes the sound, and like, you know, he gets Ox, and he passes him the crystal skull, and then you press the skull button, and it makes like a whoom. sort of
That's a
noise.
scholastic book fair type of book if I've ever heard one.
That's exactly what it was. And
And then
I
and then you
remember,
press the Mac button and he goes, "Hey Jonesy, what's up, mate?"
hey Jonesy, Jonesy, yeah. And and then I sort of subscribed to that sort of popular opinion that this movie was like super terrible. But then, as you were saying, Jaden, I was sort of watching this, going, this is a lot more Indiana Jones than I thought it was, and I even was thinking like, and I think the only reason why that sort of came to mind was because of how recently I watched everything else. Like I
Mm.
watched Temple of Doom and Last Crusade last month, and
Mm.
I watched Raiders right before watching this. So I was sort of like, oh, I'll watch Raiders as like a prequel to Skull, and I was like, oh, it's actually a lot more Indiana Jones than I thought. And I think like what there's problems which I'm sure we'll get to, but one of the points I sort of thought about was, and people are probably going to make this criticism about this coming the Dial of Destiny, where it's like, oh, Harrison Ford's far too old to be doing this sort of stuff, and it's like, I I feel like he's always been sort of blocky and sort of slow in his movements anyway. Like I was watching him doing some fight scenes where they do like a sort of like one massive punch, and it's like he's been doing that sort of same thing since Raiders. So it's like I don't think that's going to be a problem. His age. I mean, maybe it will be because it's such a time difference between Crystal and Dial. But
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
I went into this movie thinking, oh, Harrison Ford must do like nothing in this film. But like, I
Mm.
mean, obviously the stunt double. Well, it's stunt double a lot of the time. But the idea that Indy does nothing in this movie and sort of just like husks around, it's like, well, he sort of does, he sort of does that in a lot of movies. So I was sort of like, yeah, I, I related this movie to the other Indiana Jones movies and the sort of character of Indiana Jones much more than I thought I would. So I've sort of come to like it more than I thought I did. Yeah,
Mm.
it hit some nostalgia points and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. Jake made the point when we were watching it, which I don't think he's familiar with, like the cultural conversation around this film or anything. He made the joke, "Oh, what did they have to wheel out Harrison Ford for this one?"
yeah,
And it's just like everyone's already said that, and
yeah.
this next one is 15 years after this, so it's like, man,
It's like
that's a
yeah,
great point. It's what's going to be going on in Dial of Destiny? That's something by itself. But I totally agree. I think any criticism that Harrison Ford cops for this film, I don't know. There's some rose tinted glasses stuff going on there, in my opinion, because I think he gave this movie his all. I think he's
mm,
really good in it. And I honestly think his performance is like totally perfect. Like there's nothing wrong
yeah,
with it. I couldn't fault it at all. Like I don't see
Mm.
anything in it
Yeah.
that's like, oh, that was a bit like he doesn't want to be there or he's phoning this in
yeah,
or anything like that at all. Like I thought he was really solid throughout the whole thing. And I read in the
yeah.
trivia he was still doing shitloads of stunts and everything, and it's just like,
Mm.
good for him, man.
It's
Like he
like yeah,
clearly cares.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you could see it.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
sort of just I don't know where it comes from, but it just feels like pretty unfair, honestly, to like make fun of him for this sort of shit when he's out here giving it his all at his age
yeah.
and doing a bloody good job, in my opinion. And I also just like really overall like the whole aging hero story, which I hope Dial of Destiny leans even more into. I'm sure it will,
Mm.
considering the aging element of it.
Mm.
But yeah, I just think that's really cool. Like I honestly prefer, like characterization wise, like prefer it actually to Prime Indiana Jones, just because
Mm.
you know seeing this guy get older and he's been on more adventures clearly in the time between this and Crusade, and apparently served in World War II, which I was like, really, wow. So that
Yeah,
that was interesting. So you get that history, but like they acknowledge his age as well, and he's obviously looks older and is physically in a different state. I just think it's a cool dynamic to play with. And I think the movie does it really well, and Ford's really good.
I think the criticism of like he's too old. I think it sort of comes more so from the situation he finds himself in rather than his actual performance. So like some of the
Mm.
biggest criticisms of this movie is Indiana Jones surviving a nuclear blast by hiding in a fridge. And it's like but you can't really blame Harrison Ford's performance for that. Like that's a story thing that he had. Like there's nothing he can do about that. So people who are like, oh, he's bloody, 50 years old. There's no way he survives that. It's like, yeah, of course, there's no way he survives that. But don't sort of say Harrison Ford's too old to survive that. No one could survive that. So yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, that feels like it's sort of conflating two things by the sounds
yeah.
of it. Um,
Did you ever
dude,
find that
yeah,
full Easter egg of the of that scene?
Of Nuketown.
it rings a bell. What is it again? I feel like I
No,
do know of it.
there's just like there's just a fridge in the middle of like the wasteland. I don't know. It's like kind of, I think it's a left of the main city.
And there's like a
And,
hat in it or something.
no, you can open it up and there's like a. I think there might be. I think it's a skeleton wearing a hat. I think maybe, or if not, it's just a skeleton. Like
Yeah.
just because like someone obviously tried to do it.
Tried to hide in the
That's
fridge.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really good. That's really fantastic. But the it's funny because I don't know, like I think the Nuketown scene's my favorite scene in the movie. I think it's really good. Like
Yeah?
I just think it's really cool. Like when he gets in there and it's this town when he has the realization of what it is and that it's basically Nuketown from COD. Um, I thought it was pretty sick. And like I don't know, like
Yeah.
why does he? But again, maybe I think it's just I don't know if it's nostalgia. I don't know if it's just my slightly different tastes with this whole franchise so far. But like in terms of like criticizing it for being like, oh, how does Indy survive? I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like I can say that about literally like 50 scenes in all of them at this point. I really don't care. Like, I'm really
Yeah.
not holding it to any sort of standard in that regard. And I
Mm.
thought the way the scene added to the 50 setting was really cool. That's something the film does really well overall. Actually, it's like trying to. We chose to set this in the 1950s, and we're really going to lean into that with all the
Yeah.
communism and the hysteria around that, and of course the
Yeah.
nukes. And I just thought it did a really good job of that. And I hope Dial of Destiny, wherever we haven't decided where it's set yet, but wherever it is, they lean into that as well.
Mm.
It's sort of on that point. Something that I like completely forgot happened in this movie was when Mutt and Indy were in the cafe at the start, and they're like the two KGB agents come to get him, and Indy's like, punch that guy in the face. He's like, what? Punch him. And so he punches the jock, and then it's like the greasers and the jocks. I was like, oh, that's like,
Yeah,
I was like, I totally forgot that they did that, and I was like, oh, that's a really good use of the setting and the time frame and like the time period, and like that whole scene of like riding a motorcycle through. They weren't in London. They were like wherever they were. It's like you've never
yeah,
really seen that in any other movie because they've always started in the university, and then it's like we're going on a plane, and then you see the plane montage of him flying, and then he rocks up in, Cairo, or he rocks up in wherever. Whereas in this one, you actually sort of see a little bit of adventure on American soil, which I don't think was
yeah.
in any other movie. I think every other movie he's been doing that somewhere else. So I thought that was a really nice use of setting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true. Where is that? Because that was just the same town where he works at the uni,
Mm.
Yeah, that's his university. Yeah, and I can't
wherever
remember.
that is.
It's
Yeah,
not Cambridge. It's
That's England.
that's in England. Yeah, it's not like I was about to say Oxford, but that's in England as well, isn't it? Is it Chicago University?
I'll just ask Google.
it sort of looks like a smallish town
Marshall
to me.
College. It's a fictional Marshall College, but I want to know like whereabouts it's set.
It sort of gives me the vibes of like somewhere,
Oh, it was
like a Mississippi or something.
yeah. Well, Ravenwood was the University of Chicago professor. That was Marion's dad, and where Indy went to school.
Oh yeah.
Well,
maybe it is around there.
while you brought up Mutt, let's get this out of the way quick. Did
Yeah,
they
sure.
intend to continue the series with Shia LaBeouf? Like, was that the intention? Because at the end, there's the very obvious ode to him, about to pick up the hat, where whatever, passing on the torch and shit. Was that the intent, and then he got successful with Transformers, or did this movie just bomb so they couldn't continue? Like what's going on with that?
I originally thought that was the plan of like they're gonna make him the new Indiana Jones, but maybe it's watching it in hindsight. When I watched that scene again, I was like, oh, they never intended for Shia to be the new Indiana Jones. To
No?
me, it was like just sort of a playful. It was like there's like the way he takes the hat back and sort of puts it on his head is sort of saying there's only going to be one Indiana Jones, and that's Harrison Ford. That's how I interpreted it
Mm.
now. I don't know if that's just because hindsight's giving me that input, but the way it's sort of like it was almost like a joke where it's like, oh, maybe he could be a new. It's like, no, there's only one. It's Harrison. That's it.
I think it's a totally valid interpretation because the scene very much does that. But I think it's a bit of hindsight. I think they did have that in mind
Yeah.
because yeah, I read in the trivia. Well, first of all, it wasn't like they had like greenlit sequels and it was all happening. It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
But they made the move on purpose, I think, to leave it as that's a very strong possibility that we can do that next if we want to. And I read in the trivia that basically Shy got bloody fired from this franchise after it happened because he got dropped because he trashed on the movie during the press tour,
Ah.
which is what happened. Because he was basically going. I mean, to be fair, like I read some of his comments, and he didn't say it like it was unprofessional. I don't understand why he was fired, but he didn't like say the movie's trash or anything like that. He was just sort of saying like I feel like he was basically criticizing his own performance and felt like. He didn't like in CG scenes. He didn't like elevate the material enough to impress the fans, and he was sort of just openly saying that, like when he meant to be promoting the movie. And Harrison Ford apparently called him a fucking idiot. For doing that. So I think by that time it was just like, oh yeah, all the good graces here are done, and they just sort of weren't interested in pursuing him any further. But I don't know. Like I feel like I do feel like the choice to name him literally Henry Jones the Third,
Yeah,
like,
that's a bit.
has
Yeah.
to be pretty spot on,
Yeah.
But
But yeah, it
was
conveniently
this
played out.
filming? So this was this filming at the same time as Transformers then, or like was just like one after the other? It would have been for Shia then, right?
Yeah, it would have been one after the other. I don't know which one would have gone
Well,
first.
because his interaction with CJ shit in Transformers is fucking great. So like, if he feels like there's an issue with his, fucking whatever his performance is here, in that regard, like that surprises me.
I mean, the only times I can think of is when he interacted with CGI stuff. I mean, unless you're talking about the environment, but like
Yeah.
the only strange thing I can think of were the monkeys. Like when he was swinging in the jungle, and the monkey, like
Yes.
that was pretty terrible CGI, and I was like, maybe that's what he's talking about, like that whole interaction. Like those
Well,
monkeys were terrible. They were
it
so
was
bad.
it was what he was talking about.
Oh,
was
it
it?
was like specifically that scene.
Yeah, I think I haven't got it here, so I'm paraphrasing, but his comment was specifically like, if I can't make swinging around in the jungle like Tarzan, compelling, then that's on me or
Right.
something like that, he said.
Okay, yeah. Because
Jeez.
I wrote that down. I was like, oh, that looks very bad. That's not very good.
Yeah, that whole thing. I don't know, like I didn't actually think it looked terrible. Like it didn't look like, oh my god, that's offensively bad. But like, I mean, it didn't look great either. But it was more just like the vibe of it that I disliked. Like it was more just the choice to have
I
him
think-
swinging around with
yeah.
monkeys was just weird. I was like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this?
Yeah, I thought the whole fencing scene, like before that, was really not like. I actually was watching that. I was like, oh, I'm actually enjoying this. But then the second he like gets hit by the branch and gets swung up, and then he starts like looking around at like CGI monkeys. I'm like, why did you do that? Just like you should have kept him on the boat. And, like maybe Harrison like pulled him down. It's like, watch where you're going, kid. Like it should have been something like that. It shouldn't have been him swinging. That's where they ruined it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon if Spooky was actually like they call Spooky up to direct Indiana Jones 6? He's got Harrison Ford there. Do you reckon you're giving him directions in like his voice? And
In his
"All right,
voice?
Harrison, and then you're like, "Rrr."
And then it belongs in a museum, Harrison.
Would you do that? You would 100% be like,
I would
"This is how you
definitely
say
do that.
it." Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, no, Harrison. This is not how you talk like you. Let me tell you how to talk like Harrison Ford.
Sweet man. Yeah, do the digital de-aging of his voice.
Oh
Yeah.
So we can talk about the action a little bit. That whole jungle chase sequence that we're talking about here, where there's the fencing and the Tarzan. First of all, I feel like there's a lot to actually potentially pick apart if we want to, because first of all, it's very long. Like I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this could have been cut in half, to be honest.
Are you
it's meant to be
including
like
the
the biggest thing in the movie, but
Are you including the fire ants when you're talking about the jungle scene? Do you count the fire ants as the same sort of scene as the fencing and the jungle swing?
yeah, I think
Or
it
do you
ends when they
separate
fall off the waterfall.
Okay, right, yeah. In which case, it is a very long scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I take your point though. Like even if you did just want to say it's when they're chasing in the trucks or whatever, when the trucks are driving around, that's still quite long in itself. But yeah, so it does sort of break pace when they jump out of it and all that sort of stuff. But it is sort of one action set piece long. That's sort of
Yeah.
extended. But yeah, the fencing was cool. A lot of it was cool. I did like a lot of it conceptually, and it did feel consistent with Indiana Jones. The fencing example you brought up, Luke, is a good one because that's to me, it's silly and obviously makes no sense, but it feels like a modern version of like they would have done this in the original
Yeah.
trilogy if they could have at the time, like technologically. It
Yeah.
feels very much like what does an Indiana Jones authentic action piece look like in 2008 when
Yeah.
we can do some crazy shit. That's what that
Yeah.
part was, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I think that's totally cool. That totally fits
Mm.
in for me.
Yeah, they swapped horses for cars and motorcycles because that
Right.
was just they just evolved. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's long, and there's the Tarzan, and then there's the whole CG killer ants thing.
Yeah.
Which again, that was also fine, and I'm
Yeah, I
also
thought the
like,
answer was good. I thought the sequence was fine as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
but so
and
I was talking like more specifically like when the ants get involved and they're running from the ants.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
The second half.
I thought the entire thing was pretty decent.
there's always insects. There's always a swarm of something.
I'm
It's
telling you, man.
snakes, and then it's bugs, and then it's rats, and now it's CGI fire ants.
Thank God, man. You know what? I'm actually glad they didn't have to breed like 200,000 ants this time.
Yeah.
Break up.
Well, I noticed. Do you remember? There's a scene where Kate Blanchett. It's Kate Blanchett, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she throws a
Weirdly.
CGI monkey off a cliff, and they actually show the monkey like grabbing onto a branch and surviving. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they've gotten so many complaints about animal cruelty. They need to show. Oh no, the monkey's fine. The monkey
monkey's
survived. Don't worry. The CGI monkey didn't die.
That's actually spot on. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. It's so honestly, like the evolution of this franchise being able to do CGI animals now. I've been talking shit about all the animals in these movies, man. I'm honestly pretty happy with it. It's like,
Yeah.
does it look amazing? No, but I don't need you to put like 50,000 snakes in a pit again. And then
Yeah.
they're probably all gonna die in real life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy with this.
What did you think about Kate Blanchett? Was she good? Good villain? What did you think of her
Was she-
accent?
Was she a good villain? No. She was fine. She fit into the movie. Like, she was consistent with the vibe.
Yeah.
Her accent was, it was pretty silly.
I
But
think that's pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't want to critique
as
its
far
authenticity or
as like those kind of things go. I feel like she put a bit of like professionalism in it.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe her look is also very silly. I don't know. I can't. Not that I'm meant to take this character seriously. That's the thing. Like, it's not a villain I take seriously. It's not a villain I think's intimidating in any way, shape, or form. But I don't think she's meant to be, and she serves her role. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's just nice to see that Indiana Jones isn't hitting on the villain in this movie. Is he?
When he hit,
No, he's
when he
done.
hit on the. Oh yeah.
In Last Crusade.
Yeah, that's actually out of character for him. He should have hit on it.
Yeah. Well, he's getting old.
No, Marion was there, so couldn't.
Marion was there. Yeah.
All right. Well, hang on. So Marion was here.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Mutt's his kid. They needed to bring it back. I mean, I think that's the essentially the only reason why. When they were making a fourth movie, they were like, okay, we need something to sort of get these old people to come see Indiana Jones again. And it's like, so what do we bring back from the original trilogy? And they were like, well, Sean Connery's dead, so we can't bring him back. And it's like,
hold on, he wasn't dead at that time, was he?
No,
pretty sure, wasn't he? Oh, wasn't he?
No.
No.
They asked him to do a cameo.
But Marcus Brody was dead, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I thought both of them were dead at that point.
No, Sean Connery lived for another 12 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel
really?
like that was way more recent.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind then. I guess he just really didn't want to do it.
Yeah, it was. He just didn't want to come out of retirement, is what trivia said anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair enough then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I don't know, like, to me...
Yeah, was she wacky in this movie?
I don't want to say that. She was fine, but, like, I don't know, the whole thing, like... I'll put it this way. I don't know if the events of this movie at all earned them getting remarried at the end. Or getting married. I don't think they were ever married in the first place. Getting them married at the end. That was like, they were hanging out for, like, literally
a
Or
day.
they it was that yeah, it was a day, and then like it was like the next morning actually like the truck thing happened. And by that point they're like, why couldn't you stay with the other women? Because she wasn't you.
Yeah,
I'm like,
none
what
of
the
them were
fuck?
like
Like,
you,
what,
honey.
what is this?
Yeah.
Like, you guys
But
haven't seen each other for like 30 years.
even in
Yeah.
Raiders, like, wasn't there was already like a history between them, right? Like, it makes
Yeah, there
sense that,
was.
like, that this is like the strongest
Yeah.
connection that they've
So
had.
yeah. So what happened was Indiana Jones was his professor was Ravenwood. So Marion's dad was Indy's professor, and during that time, when when Marion was 15, Indiana Jones had an affair, and then 10 years later in Raiders he comes back. So there was a sort of history there, and then it depends on. I think maybe they were together for maybe like I don't know what the time is between Last Crusade and Raiders, but you can
Yeah.
essentially assume that once Raiders begins, their relationship ended. So you can sort of add that time plus the time when he was a student. So it's sort of like in between there. So there is a bit of history, but it's a big. I totally agree. It's a big leap for them to sort of be like, well, let's just get married. It's sort of like they're wanting the happy ending,
Yeah.
and they sort of, and I
Yeah.
guess that's sort of like the idea is that they get married and live on, and then Shia LaBeouf becomes the new Indiana Jones. So to sort of support that, I guess that's why they got married.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It feels, I guess, in that sense, just like it's a bit reliant on, their relationship already being established in Raiders. Which I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I just didn't feel like their relationship was that. Yeah, I get the history. That does make sense. But like in terms of their chemistry or anything, I didn't ever feel like, well, these guys are just they were meant to be. Like for all, I guess my point is like for all, it doesn't feel like Marion is super specific. For all I care, like it could have been Willie in the exact same spot in this movie, and it would have still worked the same. Like it doesn't really
Yeah.
add a lot that it's this particular actress or anything. No disrespect or anything.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's a
so yeah,
good point.
yeah, that element of the movie didn't really do much for me, and she just didn't really add a lot to the when she joined the crew. She didn't really have like an identifying, at least like weird.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I feel like in that little hero crew that we had rolling in the third act, when you
Yeah.
think of Jonesy, you think of old mate
Jonesy.
Mac up here, and you
Yeah.
think of bloody John Hurt's character, who was actually kind of annoying, but at least like like they also had their characteristic thing, and then like Shy's walking around there, sort of being the mentee to
Yeah.
Indiana
Being
at
the
this
rebel
point.
punk sort of thing. Yeah.
Right, they also have a role, and then I don't know her. She was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it's Marion. Remember her? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, fair enough.
She fell in love too quickly again. Like it was like
Right,
literally like they were fighting, and then it's literally after he says none of them were like you that she sort of falls back in love with him, and it's like, dude, what do you
right.
like? What happened to all this sort of character development or anything, And there was something that I noticed was when they were doing that jungle chase scene, there was a scene like she got hit in the back of the head with a tree branch, and I watched that and I was like, oh, she's dead.
Oh
Like
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
she
Oh,
she
I know the one.
proper got hit in the back of the head,
Yeah.
and then I was like, was that meant to mean something? And then like later when they're falling off the cliff, like they're falling off the waterfall, and she's like still driving the boat once the boat's fallen apart. I'm like, oh, is she meant to be concussed from when she got hit in the head by this tree branch before? I was like, is there something? Did something get
Nah.
cut in this movie that was meant to explain why she was acting a bit loopy? I was like, was it just because she got hit really hard in the back of the head by a tree branch?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they need to establish some sort of logic because real life logic, death. Indiana Jones logic, unknown.
I know.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Is she dizzy? I don't know. Is she
Yeah.
fine? Could be anything. Got no idea.
Mm.
And then not to mention, of course, that they are not unlike Temple of Doom, but a bit more extreme, of course. They fall off that waterfall there 3 times, man. Was I the only one doing Max? You can already tell I like doing it. Doing Max voice.
Jonesy!
I was just doing it the whole time. I was watching
Yeah.
it. I'm a quadruple agent, Jonesy. You know? I don't know. I kind of liked him. He was kind of silly, I guess. I don't know. But were you guys annoyed by John Hurt at all? Actually,
No.
No,
He
I don't think
didn't.
so.
Nah. I like because I know John Hurt as the voice of the dragon from Merlin. So when I saw his name pop up, I was like, oh, I totally forgot that this is the dude who voices the dragon
Yeah.
in Merlin.
I forgot.
So
he was
then
in this
I
as
was
well.
watching him, and I was just like, oh, it was goofy. I actually thought because I didn't remember. I thought that it was Brody. I thought Brody was the one that was like insane. And then I rewatched the movie,
Oh.
and I was like, oh no, like Brody canonically is dead, and this is like a completely separate character that we've never seen before. But
Mm.
I thought it was fine. Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
funny how it was like get help, and then he brings all the Russian KGB agents over, and he's like, help, I got help. It's like, I thought that was kind of fun. It was stupid, but I was like, oh, that's kind of fun.
Dumbass, for sure.
Yeah.
So, actually, addressing a point from last week, of course, Henry Jones Sr. died, confirmed.
But Sean
So-
Connery not died at that point.
Correct, yes.
Yep.
But Henry Jones Sr. But, so, Holy Grail does nothing? Drinking,
yeah, right.
Yeah, well, see, guys,
no reference?
once you leave the crest in the middle of the tomb of the Holy Grail, the effects wear off. That's why when the two brothers left, they were dead when they came back. The effects of the Holy Grail only work in the chamber. That's why when she took the Grail over the crest in the middle, the whole thing came apart. The magic was only
Right.
tied to that.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
when you said that, and I was like, dude, no, that's the whole point.
You were waiting all week.
I've been waiting
you
all
could have
week.
commented. You could have commented, but no.
I've been saving it. I've been saving it for this nonsense. I was like, dude, you didn't listen. But I mean, I guess
Oh,
the
God.
only problem to that is, well, technically his bullet wound should have probably opened. But it's like they glossed over that.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mm.
because they said that when the two brothers came back, they were like 130 years old and they were like pretty much dead. And and it was implied that the effects of the Grail had worn off.
Okay. That's a bit of a shit power, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You can live forever as long as you stay in this little room here.
Stay in this room, yeah.
you know? It's like, all right, well, can I at least have Wi-Fi? Then maybe I'll consider it. But but after that, yeah, no, I'm good. Okay, well that makes sense. Still, don't really
I'm glad I
understand
got that
why
off my
anyone
chest.
would want the Holy Grail after that, but that's all. That's fine. That's cool.
Because it belongs in a museum.
Sure, exactly.
Oh, God. How did you feel about the alien? Well,
Of course.
the multi-dimension. Let's address the elephant in this film, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? I think that the problem I have with this film is that in everything else, in all the other movies, they played really fast and loose with the rules of magic and mysticism. Like the whole point is that Indiana Jones doesn't believe in magic, but then there's like the ark in the first one. It's like, where does it come from? Like God, and then that's it. They don't touch it. And then in the second one, there's these sort of voodoo magic. Where does it come from? The rocks. Sure, they don't touch it. And then in the Last Crusade, it's the Holy Grail. Okay, like that's it. But then in this one, it's like they try to explain the magic or the power of the crystal skull by saying, oh, it's an alien. But then they actually show the alien and they show the spaceship, and it's like, no, it's too much. And I think that's the biggest criticism of this film. It's like the whole idea of the first three films is that there's this sort of magic there, but it's never explained why. And so that's sort of the whole point of the archaeological adventure, to sort of discover it, but not to press too hard to remove the magic of. And there was all that mystery always existed. Whereas in this one, they double down and they lean too much into describing the source of it. Like I think if they had the crystal, and it like had some sort of weird like mind meddling powers, it's like it could have been like it could be rationalized as it's sort of like a placebo. But then they actually go, oh, no, it's not a placebo. It's actually a magic crystal. Here are the 7 aliens that all form into one. Here's the magic spaceship that disappears into another dimension. It's like, another dimension? Cut it out. Like, well, stop. It was far too much, and that's my biggest problem with this movie is that, and that's sort of, I think, what maybe you were getting at the start, Zach, when you were saying how you were sort of all right for the first half of the film, which is what I really enjoyed the first half of the film, because you're tomb raiding and you're doing all these Indiana Jones things. But then in the back half, it's like, okay, we're a complete sci-fi adventure now. And there's aliens and there's spaceships. It's like, that for me is pushing it too far. And I think that's the most common criticism of this movie is that it's the use of the skull, like the alien skulls, just completely sort of, I don't know how you guys felt about the MacGuffin, if you thought it was a good thing or a bad thing. But for me, I didn't like it. It wasn't good.
I don't.
Mm.
I don't understand how it's any less obvious than showing the Holy Spirit emerging from the Lost Ark,
Yeah, but like,
or literally having a knight of the Crusade hand you a fucking cup
yeah,
of
but
Jesus' blood.
there's that sort of, I mean, that sort of thing. But you don't see God in that. Like you don't see like you see the spirits, sure, but you don't see the cause of the spirits, or you don't see the
Yeah, because
cause
it's
of
fucking
what's forming
mystical
it.
and shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's mystical. Whereas in this
Yeah.
one, they say it's not mystical; it's aliens. So that's exactly my problem. I
Yeah,
would
but
have
it's on the
much
same fucking
preferred it to be
wavelength.
mystical. That's my point. It's different, and that's what I don't like about it.
But it's
They
not different.
It is though, because it goes from being mystical to being aliens, and that's not mystical because there's
Okay. Okay. So do you think the whole thing would be better if it wasn't like is it a problem with the premise conceptually, or is it more like the aliens would be fine if we didn't go as far as to literally see one?
yes.
But you
I
see the Holy
I
Spirit
think
and you're fine with that.
I think I'm more so the spaceship killed it for me. I think I maybe
Mm.
would have been content with the skeletons being there, and then they're like, like if it sort of alluded to it, where it's like, how did they make these? You know, there's no way humans could have like carved this, but then they didn't go
Yeah.
any further. The fact that you actually saw the alien, like when it became like flesh and bone, and you saw the sort of spaceship, was giving too much explanation. Whereas when you saw like the spirits in the first one, or when you see the Knight of the Crusade, it feels like a folktale. Like
Mm.
it feels like you wouldn't believe it if you came back and tried to explain it to someone. You're like, oh, we opened the box and all these spirits came out. Whereas it seems more, the whole idea of there being like a spaceship is like you could almost find evidence for that. Whereas I don't,
Right.
and like you like they had evidence, they had alien bodies, so they've completely removed the mysticism of it. Whereas if
Yeah.
Henry Jones came, like Indiana Jones came back to the museum and was like, if you go to this place in Cairo, you'll find this tomb where there's a dead holy crusader, and there's the cup just down in the soil. They probably wouldn't believe you. Whereas it feels like they tried to provide too much evidence. They tried to make it too real.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. It's like it's almost like they took a step too far. You can imagine there's like a version of it where instead of they go there and you literally confronted by an alien and the UFO takes off, like they go there and there's like there's more skulls or there's relics or there's more shit
Yeah,
on the wall and it sort of stays there where it's like and maybe there's some sort of power thing that happens or something, but like you take away from it. Okay, well it's all but confirmed that aliens exist in this world,
yeah,
but there's no hard evidence. They walk away with sort of just nothing again, and they never saw one.
yeah.
I sort of get that.
Or at least we saw it. Like I understand
Mm.
that canonically Indiana Jones didn't see the skulls form together and the alien sort of touch Kate Blanchett, but we as the audience did. It's like I didn't want to
Yeah.
see that. I wanted it to sort of remain a mystery. Sort like I
Yeah, but
wanted
we
it
saw
to
the Holy
remain.
Spirit come out and then burn Nanti's face while Indiana Jones didn't.
Yeah,
So,
but it's a different for a reason that I'm finding hard to explain.
uh-huh.
It's yeah, because you can't touch the spirit. Like the spirit can like zap you with lightning, sure, but it doesn't feel like something you can touch and feel. Whereas
And
you
what about
could
the
you
voodoo
could
magic
touch
that
like
happens in Temple of Doom and all that shit? How does that make you
yeah,
feel?
but like but even like so
Because
you see
this confirms the existence of voodoo magic.
yeah, but you
But
don't
then
know the cause of it.
you don't know the fucking cause of aliens.
Yeah, but you see the spaceship, so you see like
Yeah,
you
so
see all of that. That feels more causal. It
yeah, but
proves its existence a bit more.
Mm.
well, then what the fuck are you gonna do with the aliens? Just leave them
Well,
there?
like that's what I mean. Give me they gave me too much evidence. Don't
Mm.
the spaceship shouldn't have flown up. I would have been perfectly fine if they went into that chamber and there were the skeletons there. They gave the skeletons back and some other shit happened. I would have been totally fine with that. But they lost me when the spaceship started spinning around. Everything got sucked up into a vortex. The aliens formed together into one massive, actually alien with a massive head who like had eyes and blinked and like touched Kate Blanchett on the forehead or something, and like everything sucked up and it all whooshed away. It's like they shouldn't have done that. I would have been perfectly fine accepting it if they just walked in and some other random shit. Like if they walked in and Kate Blanchett like started levitating and then exploded, because the skulls were sending out like a signal to her head or something. I think I would have been fine with that. It's the whole idea of like it's an interdimensional thing. It's like, don't give me a definition. Keep it vague. Holy Spirit, where did that come from? They, oh, maybe it's an interdimensional spirit. Keep it vague. You know, the voodoo, where does that come from? Who knows? Keep it vague. Like, don't it's to me they gave far too much explanation. They should
Yeah,
have
but
kept.
you see, if you're looking at it from the alternate perspective of the religious, then you're getting told exactly. You're getting direct confirmation that this is the lost ark. This is the Holy Spirit. This is God's power or whatever, you know. And then
Yeah,
you're looking at the aliens as fantasy and as just some bullshit explanation.
I mean I am in a sense, but like I would share the same criticism if like when they opened up the ark, if like God like appeared in the sky and sent out spirits to kill them all. I would
That's
have
what
the
he
same
did.
criticism. No, but
That's what it
no,
is.
but the spirit you didn't see anyone portray God or you didn't see anything. You just saw spirits come out of the box.
But it's the Holy Spirit. It is God.
Oh, it's like yeah, but they don't show you. But that's the thing; they don't show you it. They show you the spirits. They don't show you God, though. They show you the acts of God, which is what and like they show you the acts of supernatural. But they don't show me the cause of supernatural. Show me the acts of it, because that's where
Yeah.
the mysticism lies. So
I
like,
might
show me the
I might
acts
call
of
a
the Christian
stalemate
skull.
here.
Yeah.
No, it's all right.
Um,
The thing is,
I
I don't even like the spaceship, but when you started trying to talk shit about it, I started trying to defend it.
No, I know you did.
I,
Just
I'm
to laugh.
actually, to be clear, it didn't really bother me, but I sort of more lean towards Luke's side, especially when when they do the establishing shot of literal above South America, like
Yeah.
the jungle is like has alien shapes in it.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, so you're telling me when Google Earth's invented in 50 years, like humanity's gonna figure this out immediately.
yeah.
Whereas, there's no such level scale of evidence for anything previous to this.
Yeah. Everything else seems super isolated that no one would find out about it. Whereas in this one,
That's
it's
because the
like,
government can cover it up.
I don't know if you can cover up a massive crater in the bloody Amazon forest.
And who's gonna know that that's only fresh?
Archaeologists, when they look at the soil samples and things like that.
That won't go out there.
Yes, science is bullshit. All right. Oh man. Although speaking of all this shit though, so I was right in the Raiders episode that the warehouse at the start was the warehouse from the end of Raiders because they show the ark.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I didn't know going into it that they were actually going to go back. That's actually a really cool choice. That the opening scene is at the cool, place where the final shot is at Raiders. I like it.
Hmm.
Good work, Stephen. I was
Yeah.
going to say Steven, like Spielberg and Steven.
Yeah. It's like a picture. It
No.
rhymes.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was cool. That was cool. I've got some trivia here for sure.
About aliens or interdimensional travel.
Don't you get me
Oh
started.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've got some facts here for you. No, I want to get your opinion on this, Jane, if you can tell, because the continuing saga of being able to analyze this shit. Director Steven Spielberg did not shoot this film in digital format, which his friend and partner George Lucas had adopted. Lucas approved, saying that it looked, in his words, like it was shot 3 years after Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You'd never know there was 20 years between shooting.
Yeah, I think that's
Could you
difficult to
tell?
comment on because obviously I say Shia LaBeouf there, and I'm like, oh, this is 2007.
Oh yeah, I mean obviously with
Yeah.
Harrison too, but in terms of like the look of the film, I suppose.
I don't know. No, I think there's a cleaner kind of image quality. Like, there's no
I sort
way.
of agree.
Wait, with me or Lucas?
No, with Lucas.
Really?
Yeah. I get the vibe. Like there was like at the start, it felt very like the footage it felt like the original movies. Yeah.
The start felt like
yeah.
before we even get to Indy was very spot on, but I feel like that was more just like the scene itself as opposed to.
Yeah.
Anything with
Maybe it's
cameras
just my
necessarily.
internet quality streaming it on
Oh
Steam.
yeah, wow, 480p looking
Yeah.
really authentic here.
Lucas counting pixels on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, the opening was
yeah.
cool with the bloody Paramount logo transition, the old school. That was cool.
You know, I saw a video just this week where it's like talking about how like Spielberg doesn't. I don't know if he still does or if he doesn't, but like he the example was from Jurassic Park, and I think it was like a trademark of his like back then, is that like he wouldn't plan shots like he'd rock up on set on the day, and then while he's standing there, he'd work out how everything's blocked and how everything moves and how everything like functions right there on the spot as he kind of walks around and looks. And I hope that's something that is kept up. And like I mean, there hasn't really been a market shift in like the kind of style, so it seems like it probably has. But I think it's really awesome. Like, and I think especially looking at if that's the case for this film as well, I think it's really impressive that he's able to just do that.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it kind of like goes to like what the Fablemans shows him in his early age of just like having these wacky like ways of dealing with shit. And then you see like this, and you know it was like he just fucking rocks up on set, says, "Oh yeah, do that, move here, show that, fucking done."
That's shocking. Especially, I don't know if it applies to like every scene in all these movies or anything. I would highly doubt it for like, I assume the monkey, those many monkeys are previous.
Yeah, I shot at the
But
end. Yeah,
he
he hopped up on side,
just
was
gets
like,
there
"All
on the
right,
day.
this is the blocking." Yep.
but yeah, no, into relation of most scenes, yeah, it is pretty damn impressive. I imagine that a lot of the action stuff, especially, requires, you know, or at least a lot of people would require storyboarding and stuff. But yeah, Harrison Ford was adamant that he got to wield Indiana Jones's famous whip. Paramount executives wanted the weapon to be computer generated because of new movie safety rules. But Ford branded the rule ridiculous. But for
Good
the
on
Dial
him.
of Destiny, it will be CGI.
Oh, really?
No, I just added that part.
Oh, I was about to say, you're about to
guys.
break my heart, Anakin.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, that is pretty whack, to be honest. The girl who punches Mutt Williams. By the way, huge shout out to the name Mutt. Absolutely atrocious.
Well, that's the name he chose for himself.
Yeah, garbage. In the diner scene, the girl who punches him is Sasha Spielberg, the daughter of Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw, who's Willie in Temple of Doom.
That's
probably why I
first
don't want to
cameo.
put her in this film. You know, it's like Willie and Harrison get back together. You know.
Yeah, that's right. It was in the script at first, and he's like, red pens it out. He's like, I don't want.
No,
My
can't have
wife's
him
getting back with
romancing my
Harrison.
wife.
Yeah.
Exactly. That dirty dog.
Yeah. That's actually quite funny
man.
because he's named after a dog. It's very good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
In relation to some of the stuff we were talking about earlier with Harrison Ford's aging and stuff, Harrison Ford convinced David Cope, who wrote the film, to include more jokes about Indy's age in the script, believing they would help reduce the American paranoia about aging. He also refused to dye his hair for the role, arguing that Indy's appeal wasn't his youth, but in his imagination and resourcefulness. Good for him. He's obviously strongly believes in that because he's still out here in 2023 about to do it again. So
Yeah.
pretty wild. Although he is getting the deep fake stuff this time, so
Is he?
I don't know. Is he eating his words?
Yeah, well, he's getting that for the like flashback scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's getting this flat. Have you've seen the trailer, Jane? I think we talked about it. Did
I
you watch
probably
it?
have, but I do not remember. Like, I remember the one shot of him looking at the camera and like kind of like smirking, but like that's it.
But like old Harrison Ford?
That is old, yeah.
Well, there's going to be sequences in this movie where he's like fully de-aged, like he looks exactly like he did in the original trilogy, and so far all the shots look really good.
Oh, really?
We'll see. That stuff's coming a long way, literally by the day at this point, so should be good. Hopefully, I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I think John Williams really took the backseat on this one. Huh.
Oh yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he threw the theme in there for sure.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah, I didn't even make a single note about the score at all.
No.
Because I agree.
I feel like it really faded into the background this time. But I feel like that's just a kind of with the ages thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done this shit before. I don't know why John Williams sounds like a bounty hunter, but anyway, he's probably like a really, exactly. Oh man, I did like the scene when when they drove into the library and he was like giving the student quick tips.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was really
how
fun.
It flips on what he said in Last Crusade. You know, he's like real archaeology in the classroom, and now he goes, "If you want real experience, you know, get out there."
Yeah.
Sure.
And I thought that was a nice.
That's a
passage
nice
of time
character
with him.
arc. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that his
that's
students
true.
aren't obsessed with him anymore.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well,
Yeah.
there were still some young chicks in there, man. I don't know. Are they?
They're
They
there to
looking to do
learn.
some gold digging or?
Nah, they're there to learn.
They did learn.
Okay.
We get to learn.
Yeah, they weren't like starry-eyed at him this time, which is fair. He's like 60 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
and
peak male age,
no,
what
to
are
be
you
fair,
talking about?
what age? Sorry.
That's peak male age.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's when I'm gonna peak.
Like
Because I'll look like I'm probably maybe 25 when I'm 60. Hopefully.
Just
Um,
quickly on that sort of
yeah,
thing,
go for
I
it.
really liked it how at the start when he doesn't know that Mutt's his son, and he's like, "Oh, you don't have to go to school," and then when he finds out that he's like, "You're going back to school," I thought that was really quite funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. That whole scene actually where you learn that Mutt is his son, like in the back of the truck before the big action starts.
Mm,
That was actually pretty fun scene.
I
yeah.
just I just like the relationship between them, just straight up. I think like they get into it really fast, and I just think they gel straight away. To be honest,
Oh, with
Just-
him and Shy.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
you know, it feels natural. It feels
Yeah.
like a father and son type thing.
I
It
agree.
is a father
Yeah,
and son type
it's
thing.
not as good as Sean. I don't think it's as good as Sean Connery's
No,
in Last
no, it's not.
Crusade, but it's still not
Yeah,
bad.
but it's that's still that's an entirely different dynamic still.
I
Hmm.
mean, it, I, well, it depends on how you view it. Technically, it's not. It's still a father and son. But
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of
like
who is
obviously
filling
like
the
that.
role of father and son is different. Yeah, that's true.
I
And they don't know their father and son.
yeah, that's more of
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
just like yeah, you know, having to step into the role of a father, not knowing you're one, versus you know
Mm.
having to find your father, and then
yeah,
all this other shit.
Exactly, and it's what we talked already about a little bit, but like him adding this wrinkle to his character, where like
Ah,
obviously
wrinkle.
he's always been an archaeologist. Oh man, um, he's obviously always been a teacher and an archaeologist, but like adding a bit more into his personality. I think this is what I was talking about a bit in Raiders, where like, okay, he's a teacher, so he loves teaching. Got it. He loves being a mentor figure. Got it. And you see that in the film multiple times. Like in that library scene we talked about, you see it when in the quicksand, which was also silly, when he's in the quicksand and he's like explaining the properties of quicksand,
yeah, yeah,
like as he's
yeah,
sinking. It's like super silly, of course, but I like it. It's like a little personality trait which makes perfect sense because I've
yeah,
just never really
yeah. I
seen that
totally
before.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree. Yeah,
Like, of course he would. Of course he'd like teaching as a professor. It makes sense.
yeah. Did you like the sort of trick of like the double agent, where it's like he was always with the Russians all along?
Yeah.
I was like, come on. I mean, I feel like the film could have given the audience a bit more. Like, I don't think anyone fell for that, did they? I don't think anyone would. Like, I feel like the film could have given the audience a bit more credit. It's like, there's no way we're falling for this.
I don't know. I feel like a 9-year-old me fell for it. I feel like he did. But
Mm.
yeah, no, I remembered it this time. So I was just like, actually, no, to be fair, I probably didn't really because I remember that there was like triple twists and shit, but I didn't remember like what the result was. I didn't know how far it went, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, this time, okay, yeah, he's double H. I remember that. Yeah, he's triple H. I remember that. Yeah, yeah, he's good. But then I didn't know, like, was it going to change back again and back again and back again? I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't know where it landed, but it was with the Russians. What do you reckon Kate Blanchett saw actually when the alien sort of assaulted her?
I love the way you positioned that.
I could have gone a bit more grim, but yeah.
Well, I think so. The whole idea was that she was after knowledge. So, what did she see? I mean, you could maybe she saw some sort of Doctor Strange traveling the multiverse sort of thing, where she like, in the first
Mm.
movie when he does that sort of trip through all the different universes and his hands grow and all that sort of stuff. It's like, I guess it depends on how much knowledge they're saying the aliens have, because if they have some sort of higher dimensional knowledge of, like, if they're living in the fourth dimension or something, then they see, or like if they're living in the fifth dimension, then they see things in 2D. So that sort of thing is something we could never do. So maybe like she sees something in a high dimension, and because like she just can't process that, her brain explodes, which is probably fair enough.
Yeah.
So that would be
Yeah.
my thing, because they made the mention that they were high dimensional being or interdimensional beings. They have some sort of grasp to break the third dimension and exist in the fifth dimension beyond time. So I would say that like they granted her the ability to see in another dimension, which is probably more in
Yeah.
depth than you wanted, but that's my
Yeah,
take.
spooky, man, full.
I went full in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree though. I assumed it was something to do with like, yeah, she was granted I don't know, like the knowledge or like insight into the functions of time and space beyond any human can comprehend, and it blew her up basically.
Yeah.
Pretty, if you're gonna, of all the ways to die, it's not too bad. It's probably high ranking
Really? I think she
as long as it wasn't
complained.
painful.
But she complained it was painful.
Did she?
Yeah, she was like, "It's too much." Literally, she's like, "It's too
Oh,
much. I
I think
can't
it was
take
just
it."
sort of overwhelming. Like, but I guess
I
it would.
think no,
I
she
guess that
was
would
sort
just be
of
like a
yeah, she was visibly in pain. She was like, it's like she was sort
sure.
of holding her head, like it's too much.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
that's when the alien was sort of forming into one.
Um, let's get to our final verdicts for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Jaden.
I'd probably still slap a 6 on it, which actually might be lower than my current rating of a 7. I think maybe I have a 6 on it already. It's pretty equivalent to Raiders. I think it's got its weaknesses and strengths differently. But I think it all evens out the same.
Yeah, yeah, I actually totally agree. I'll give it a 6 too. I ditto. Yeah, that's true. It's like almost like Raiders is to me. Raiders is like I know everyone hates that review and hates us for saying this, but like to me, like Raiders is like I don't know, like vanilla. It's like the most vanilla thing ever. It's like default straight line shit. And like this movie has things I think it does quite a bit better than Raiders, and some things that stand out as like, oh yeah, that's kind of whack. So dip below the line. So I agree it evens out, but I'd probably I don't know. This is still sort of a more eccentric flavor in my. Luke, what about you?
I was originally gonna say 6, but the point you made about how this film sort of shows how he loves to be a teacher and how he's sort of explaining the quicksand and he's explaining the history and all that sort of it's made me sort of appreciate the character more. So I might give it I might give it a I'm sort of I might give it I might give it a 6.5, but I don't think you can do that on Letterboxd.
That's bullshit.
So maybe
Can't
I'll
do it in Cinema Effect either. That's banned.
all right, I'll give it a 7. Let's go.
Oh,
Huge. I'll give it a
huge.
7.
We just convinced the hardcore Indiana Jones fan to give Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 7. Let's go.
Yeah. No, it was
I'm proud of that.
like
That's an
I said,
achievement.
I enjoyed this movie a lot more on this rewatch. So it's made me see it in a completely different light. Yeah, 7. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Going in, like we said at the start a little bit, but going in, I was personally expecting like reputational wise, like expecting CG on the level of Australia, Jaden. That's what I was thinking we were getting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
And it never got there.
I think the nuke was. I think like I know you said it was well done, but I think the nuke to me was a bit like
Okay.
but
They
no,
didn't
Because he was
recreate
still
it
in
like
the
Nolan.
Fallout zone.
yeah, they didn't actually like detonate a hydrogen bomb, so I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, it's a bit poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get into news chat. We've only got one thing. There was a trailer for a movie called Hidden Strike, and Luke watched it. So, what'd you think?
This looks terrible. I mean, this does not look like a good movie. I mean, I don't know who's directing it, so I don't know if this is like this is the John like this is how the film's meant to be. I don't know if this is meant to be like a Hong Kong action film
Chad Stileski presents.
or who's directing
Whoa.
it. I don't know who's directing it. Is that who it is?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I
I
was
mean,
saying.
it looks terrible. It looks like a terrible like Mad Max spoof. It's like there's an oil crisis and there's like an oil heist and Jackie Chan and John Cena has to do it. Has to fix it.
It's the Need for Speed guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it says on the title for the trailer, it says Jackie Chan and John Cena, but I must have seen that trailer like 3 times. I couldn't see John Cena in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So hang on. This sounds to me. This has Netflix film written all over it. By the sounds of
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Was there a
Is it
Netflix
not?
logo?
No, there wasn't. It does feel like a Netflix movie though.
But is it?
No, it's not. Is it?
Really? So it's a theatrical. Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it doesn't say Netflix on it.
That's crazy.
Does it say in
That's shocking.
cinemas? It says Hidden Strike. It doesn't say. It could be a straight to
It says
Netflix
in-
film. Does it say in cinemas?
No, if it was a Netflix film, it'd be pretty obvious.
No, it doesn't say Netflix. It says Beijing Talent International Film Co.
Yeah, I'd say it's a theatrical release then, and
Wow,
they're really
alright.
banking on that Asian market.
Hmm.
Yeah. Good for them. Good for them. And that WWE market, I guess.
Like, because you're gonna go see this film.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. All right. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Jaden, what have you been watching?
I've been pretty slammed this week, so I haven't really been watching too much. But I did bang out like 40 odd episodes of Pokemon Black and White in the background. This is about where I stopped watching Pokemon. As a child. I think this was like what 2010, 11 ish, and like that's just like
Mm.
when like Pokemon stopped being like on TV as much to me at least. And I don't know, I just 2 weeks ago I felt the need to go back and jump in at this point, and it's honestly I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Oh wow, I didn't think that's where this was going.
It's so bad, like story wise. Like because like it is just like simple things, and it is children's storytelling, like it is a children's show. Like I'm not gonna kid myself about that. So like week in week out, like the story can be pretty poor, but like I love the Pokemon. I love Ash. I love Team Rocket. Team Rocket's actually doing like some sinister shit for once, and they're being successful, and that's exciting as like they're actually like doing stuff, and I'm like, wow, they're competent.
They're actually successfully like terror. They've been terrorists.
It's like that. This is set in Unova, as you know. This is it marks a move away from the Japanese regions type things to Unova. So Team Rocket gets sent there, James, Jesse, and fucking Meowth by Giovanni, the boss, and they're there to do recon, and to like do like establish them in the region, and to like bait out this other like rival evil team, and they're actually successful. Like they're doing plots and they're executing them.
That's just shocking.
Yeah.
That's pretty surprising, man.
I used to watch this on Cartoon Network. This is like the season of Pokemon that I sort of watched.
Black and white.
Like, yeah,
Oh,
which
really?
is like
With
I never
Iris.
really. Yeah, with Iris and Clement, and Ash has like a crocodile and
Not
like
Clement. But now that
Livani.
you've said the name, I can't fucking think of it.
It's the dude with green hair. It's Clement, isn't it?
No, it's not. Fuck, Silent. Yeah.
Silent. Oh, that's the same thing, dude.
Well, you were surprisingly close considering that this was fucking 14 years ago.
Yeah, because
Okay.
he's the gym leader in the game who has like
Yeah.
3 brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Iris is the dragon type trainer, and like I used to watch. I think I might have even seen. I don't know if I saw the whole series, but I've definitely seen a lot of episodes. It was always on after school. It was something I always
Actually, I watched they made there was this nut release that they did where they released the same movie but with 2 versions, because like, you know how obviously
Is
they
that the one
released
with Reshiram?
Yeah, with Reshiram or Zekrom. So obviously
Yeah,
they released the games like that, where it's like, you know, you got either version. But they actually did they did a movie release where you can choose
Yeah.
either version.
Oh,
That's
really?
weird.
Yeah,
That's
and I
awesome.
watched both of them, which is a waste of time because it's the exact same thing.
It's the same thing, but a different color.
Yeah, and there's like a few different Pokemon. Like instead of like a Gothitelle, it's like a Reuniclus or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, because
But,
they were regional exclusives. Yeah,
Yeah, no, not back in those days.
and Black and White they were.
Was it?
Pretty sure they were. Yeah,
I thought that was a very new thing.
that was like it was in X and Y as well, but I'm pretty sure it was in Black and White.
X and Y had
It was in Fire Red and Leaf Green.
X and Y had exclusive Mega Evolutions. I don't know if it had exclusive Pokemon.
Fire Red and Leaf Green had exclusive Pokemon. Like one of them had Scyther and one of them had Pinsir.
Oh really?
Yeah. Or sorry, maybe
shit.
I think one of them had Heracross and one of them had Pinsir.
Anyway, yeah, pretty good. Very happy with my choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done. Nerd alert out here. We need to get Luke back on for Detective Pikachu. Apparently. Well,
Oh,
maybe
sweet.
not.
Yeah, have you
Maybe
seen
not.
Detective Pikachu?
I have.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
It's good. It's good. It's so good.
Sounds like we do. Sounds like we do. We wrapped this week season 3 of Dave. It's been releasing every week. This is Little Dickie's show,
Yeah.
and the show's like awesome. I love it. It's a great show. It's has that quality of like sort of similar with Atlanta, which the two are often compared. They're on the same network. There's definitely some overlap in like the tone and stuff for sure, and like obviously they're about musicians. But yeah, just a really creative show. Every episode is like obviously there's a through line sort of story, but every episode sort of has a unique sort of plot that makes them by themselves function as short films, basically at the same time if you wanted to do it that way. And every episode's just like, I don't know, some like they're all good, but like some are like stand out, like just great tension pieces and great like just hilarious moments and stuff. The finale last night was so funny, man. I don't know, the cameos in this show are unreal as well. Like I don't know if I should spoil it, but basically the finale
give us
last
a taste
night.
test. Just give us one.
Give you one cameo.
Yeah. Or even give us a TV show that they're from, so we can maybe guess.
Well, okay, I'll say this: the finale last night has the cameo isn't the person in it. You couldn't get. There's no higher human being you could get in it.
The Pope.
I was about the Pope. Yeah.
No higher entertainment person you could get in it. I don't think.
No,
Should I just say it, or do you want to? I don't know. I didn't mean to do this.
I kind of want to guess.
I didn't think so. I honestly, thinking about it, didn't think you could get higher than this. Like thinking about what the shows,
Is
who
it-
the shows had.
Is it actor, director, voiceover?
Actor.
Actor. Male,
Harrison
female.
Ford.
Harrison Ford. Is it Harrison
male.
Ford?
Are we actually guessing? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Do you
we'll
wanna?
guess.
Robert De Niro.
Ooh, that's a good-
No, but like in terms of notoriety, you're there.
Al Pacino?
No, he's not. He's not old.
Not
He's
old.
not old. Actually.
Ryan Gosling.
Daniel
No, but
Radcliffe?
No, he's definitely more famous than Daniel Radcliffe.
Right, Daniel Radcliffe would do that shit for free.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio or something?
You're very close.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt?
Yeah. Brad Pitt is in the finale. Okay, it's so funny the way they do it. I'm just gonna spoilers. Like, not I won't spoil the whole episode, but like Brad Pitt's involvement. They do this thing where like they're shooting a music video, and Brad Pitt comes in for a quick second, and it's like they frame it as like, oh, he was a 2-second cameo in the music video. And then the music video just keeps going, and it's like, oh, because they were shooting it, and then it's like, oh, that's a wrap on the music video. And it's just like, oh, that was a fun, wow, they got Brad Pitt, good for them. Wow, that's fantastic. And then Brad Pitt comes back around, and he proceeds to be in the whole remaining episode as like the main character. And I was just like, this is unreal. I can't believe that Brad Pitt's doing this right now, but he's so fantastic at it. Like, genuinely might be in my top 3 Brad Pitt performances of all time, because he's so funny. He's playing himself, but like clearly like this like sort of heightened, goofier version of himself. And it's just like, and like he gets in a murderous situation basically, and it's just hilarious. It's fantastic. It's like wild. But anyway, yeah. So Dave is great if that piqued your interest.
What
Obviously, Brad
is it
Pitt
on
do some
Disney
wild
Plus,
shit.
or is it,
Foxtel, so binge or
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
Yeah. It's quite good. All right, Luke, what have you been watching, bro?
Not a lot, because I've been spending so much time playing that new Zelda game. But I watched Raiders yesterday, right before watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Wait, were you here for Raiders, or you were here for
No,
Temple
I
of Doom?
wasn't here for
Yeah.
Raiders. I was here for Temple,
Hmm.
and then I watched
I'd rather-
Crusade when you watched it. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear about this, talk about the Zelda cutscenes than goddamn talk about Raiders, man.
yeah, I won't talk about Raiders. I'll just sort of name drop it. But
Oh yeah.
now that I've sort of finished my uni semester, I'm getting back into Better Call Saul. I
Hey.
literally, the last time I was on the podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm smashing through it. I'm going on a rampage.
Oh no.
I had not watched a single episode since then.
Oh man.
So I finally kicked into season 3, and I think I'm like 4 episodes in. And it's
Oh,
getting
yes.
it's
Oh,
getting
yes.
good. Yeah.
You
So-
got that season. I think it's episode 2, right?
In
When
what's
there's
his,
a
when what's
when
his
there's a
face?
return.
Yep.
When there's a return.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it.
So yeah.
Love it.
I could talk about that for ages, but I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah. So I'll say that that's what I've been watching. Oh, actually, I've also been watching. There's an ABC series called Utopia. Have you heard of that? Yeah.
Which one is it? Is that the comedy one? No.
It's a comedy one. So it's the NBA, the National Building Authority.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And,
banger,
um,
yeah.
And so the new season is coming out this week, I think, or like next week, I think.
Oh,
Well,
they
this is
still
coming
making
out on a
it?
Monday, so it'll be out on the Wednesday, I think. So I was like, I'll watch from season 1 all the way up, and that show is so good. It's so funny, and it's like they're doing things on that show where they were like, they went down to Tasmania, and they were like, oh, let's find out what the Tasmanians need in terms of infrastructure. And like number 1 was roads, number 2 was like increased healthcare and subsidies, and then like number 10 on their priority list was building a new football stadium. And so the people at the government grabbed it and were like, oh, Tasmania wants a football stadium. And the NBA, like, it's like, no, they don't want a stadium. That's like number 10 on the priority. But they just kept going, they want a football stadium. They want a stadium. And then I read the newspaper literally the next day, and it's like, Tasmania's getting a new football team. I was like, oh my God, it's actually, it's coming to.
It is nuts how much shit happens in that show is then reflected in real life.
I know. Like, when they're talking about the high-speed rail, and
Yeah.
then like that stuff gets talked. It's like it's insane how, and like I remember talking to my parents because we all watched it, and like we all watched season 4 when it was coming out episode to episode, and when COVID happened, we were like, this is going to be brilliant because there are so many things that happen in the workplace during COVID that they're getting like it's just like free material for this show, and so I'm so excited for what they do. I don't know if they're doing like pandemic episodes. but like the whole thing about wearing a mask correctly, like it's gonna like there's so much potential, and it's just very very funny. So that's a show I'll recommend if you haven't watched it already. Yeah,
Nice, nice. I think I've seen bits and bobs, but yeah.
I think
it's
we watched
pretty good.
an episode or two in media, didn't we?
Actually, that sounds right to me for some reason.
She would have, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be right, to be honest.
All right, now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is the sequel that has most changed the tone of its franchise? Andy said, I don't have a great answer for this week's question, as I probably haven't seen many franchises. For me, the film I think altered its tone the most are sequels to two different film series, and that is A Better Tomorrow 2 and Mission Impossible 2, both directed by John Woo. Wow, so John Woo has got a bit of a curse there. First films in both of those series are highly regarded, phenomenal, and memorable classics in the East and West, respectively. John Woo's second films offer an element of surprise, meaning it will be unexpectedly whack in a good way or the dumb way. So I'm just determining if I should continue. No, hang on. Oh no, I'll continue. Sure, that's all good. It's past my my ratings.
Your
filter.
censorship, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so John Woo directed the first two films of A Better Tomorrow series. It's his series basically until the third one. The sequel, however, has a weak and overdramatic story, even though the first film's enigmatic melodrama is actually flawless and evocatively defined. Is that right? Oh yeah, I said that right. Yeah, evocatively defined Hong Kong cinema in the 80s. Luckily, they break new ground with gun fu cinema in the climax shootout, so there's some good and some bad. Whereas for Mission Impossible 2, it's just not worth describing its change of tone. It's simply not as clever as De Palma's first film and pure cringe, almost. I totally agree. I know, thank God Liam's not here because I think he defends Mission Impossible 2. But I do think after watching Ghost Protocol, I'm confident that the tone will finally remain consistent and less altered throughout, and I'm ecstatic to see the rest of the franchise when I have time.
Oh wow, he hasn't seen 5 and 6, huh?
Andy, you got no idea, bro. You got no idea. Yeah, two's the only whack one. They're all.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like people for some reason don't like 3 as much, but three's I think
3's
great.
super strong.
They're all really strong except 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm surprised by because when I first watched 4 was like sitting pretty comfortably for me, but then like over time 4's dropped to my my second least favorite.
Well, yeah, because the others are just so good.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, especially 5 and 6, man. Oh,
especially 5 and 6
100%.
and 7. No.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's gonna be. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Imagine
Thank
not
you,
having
Andy.
watched any Mission Impossible films, hey? Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine.
Hey, I was like that up until like 2 years ago, and then I binged them all in 1 week, and it was the best week of my life. And then did the same thing with Fast and Furious, and that became the best week of my life.
Until next week.
Oh man, Luke, what are you thinking for this?
I couldn't think of anything in the top of my head, so I sort of did a quick Google search, and I have a few, and I was like, I feel like I don't know what Jaden's is, but I might. Oh no, this might not be Jaden. I sort of have two. Like one of them, like so. The first answer is Wonder Woman 2. Like that movie completely
that's a good answer.
destroys the first one. And so like the first idea I had was like a negative thing where it's like the film is so radically different from the first one that it completely alters the franchise. I mean, there's 2 Wonder Woman films, so I guess you can say it alters the franchise. But my other answer was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Because I was like,
wow.
Because I was like, it doesn't alter it in a bad way. It's a sensible shift because it sort of reflects, okay, the story is now headed into a Voldemort direction, and everything now sort of teeing up to it. Whereas 1 and 2 feel like a sort of side quest in comparison. So I think the latter will be my sort of official answer, being the Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah, new director, new sort of new director. It just the color is so different tonally.
Yeah.
Like it's such a different film, or like it's like it completely shifts. It's such an obvious cut in the franchise between what's come before and what's to come afterwards.
And something that we've talked about in the show before, I'm pretty sure, is the Dumbledore.
Yeah,
you leave Richard
Dumbledore.
Harris's kind of friendly, kind of old grandpa kind of Dumbledore into Michael Gambon's like fierce kind of.
Harry, Did you put your name in the goblet of fire?
Yeah.
I was
And
about
like
to
it's
do
just
that.
so appropriate. It's just the best thing that could ever happen. Like
Yeah.
it's so unfortunate
know,
about Richard
yeah.
Harris, obviously, but like it's just for this franchise. Like
Yeah.
it just
Yes.
works.
It does work. Yeah.
100%. That's a great answer. Didn't even think of it, but it's a great one.
I thought Jaded
I've
might say
also-
that. Yeah. That was why I was like, oh, I'll have
Oh.
one.
I
little
looked
bit
at
of
it, but I
backup.
actually left it alone in case someone else wanted to mention it. So
Oh,
good
that's
job.
nice. Yeah.
Oh, selfless.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hero.
I was sort of, I don't know, when we chose the question, I sort of just defaulted to thinking it was going to be negative answers, but I had positive answers. Number one for me is Casino Royale, of course. 100%. Talk about whatever Pierce Brosnan was doing there beforehand. Makes you want to cringe. Casino Royale, great tone change. Obviously, much more serious. Rebooting the whole thing. Still having, I don't know, those key characteristics of Bond, but he also doesn't need to fly a spaceship or something, I guess. I had a couple more positive ones, but I'm going to let Jane answer first. I don't want to steal anything.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I got Quantum of Solace here as like a shift away from Casino Royale into a more Bourne-like action type film.
Okay, that's true. That is true.
So I kept that in mind. But yeah, I found a fuck ton as well. And like I kind of have a few that are open, but like I don't know, like Split is a big shift away from what Unbreakable was. In that Split goes for more of a horror direction compared to like that original kind of hero thing. Thor Ragnarok is the massive one as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shifting
yeah.
away from fucking whatever they were doing beforehand.
Yeah.
And then like the kind of deep cut that I wanted to mention that's personal to me is Halloween 3. And it's not Halloween 3 it's not necessarily a shift in tone. It's because it's an entirely shift in story. It's the only Halloween without Michael Myers. It's not a slasher thing. It's just this really fantastic individual story that kind of just feels so oddly placed, just smack bang in the middle of like the franchise. And I'm like, I think I've spoken about it before, so I don't really speak about it too much. But like, it's in leaving Michael Myers and in doing what they do with the horror this time, it's a pretty significant shift. And like I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I think it's like pretty awesome.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. There was a lot. I also had first of all, what you say about Quantum of Solace is totally true. It's sort of like it's a shift in a different way. It's a shift in its like in its way it does action and more in a directional sense as opposed to like I think the tone is fairly consistent. But yeah, I totally see it. I also had Batman Begins for very similar reasons as Casino Royale, basically the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I had Star Trek too, the J.J. Abrams reboot. Because it's because it's not really Star Trek actually, but like in terms of what Star Trek, originally is meant to be. But I still, and I don't know, people purists probably hate it. I don't really know, but I think it's cool.
You're not going to say like
that?
Last Jedi or something? No Star Wars takes?
Last Shadow doesn't change the tone. Oh no.
Well, of course, one of them does. I can't remember which
I
one.
see what you're trying to do here. Lee.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see what
trying to
you're
poke the bear. Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to open a can of worms.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna open. Andy also wrote in a review for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Well, we're going to get to that before.
Shh. I recently just watched it on the telly.
I can cut it back.
Thank you. I recently...
Don't. No.
Do whatever you like. I don't mind. Andy doesn't mind. I recently just watched it on the telly the other night, but I had no idea you were going to review this film next week. So I would call this good timing. I don't think this is a complete misfire from Spielberg because the film is still pretty entertaining. The story had a very fun concept and the villains weren't Nazis for once. Yeah, that is true. Although I read in the trivia, George Lucas, the idea was they were going to be like Nazi remnants, and they were like, "All right, guys, calm down." Kate Blanchett made this watchable for me, to say the least. But considering how awfully weak it was compared to past installments, I think I appreciate Temple of Doom a lot more now. Biggest disappointment were the action scenes looking too glossy with awkward visual effects because the CGI in Spielberg's other 2000s blockbusters titles. I'm sorry, I just invented words there that weren't there. Because the CGI in Spielberg's other 2000s blockbusters like War of the Worlds or Minority Report actually looked decent, so I expected it to look less obvious. Indiana hiding in the fridge to survive an atomic explosion was bizarrely amusing. A crooked tribute to Spielberg's masterpiece E.T. at the end, which I thought was hilarious. As in, like, the UFO taking off?
I think
As
the
in the
alien
finger
touching
touching?
the forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't think of that at all.
No,
But yeah,
neither
that makes sense.
until you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Andy. Actually, I'm pretty pumped about Dial of Destiny now. That it has already premiered at Cannes, and hopefully Dr. Luke wears that signature Indy hat when he watches it inside the cinema.
Oh, watching it inside, I don't know. That's a bit of a faux pas.
What?
You can't wear a hat inside the cinema. What are you doing?
Oh, I definitely do.
Well, when you're going to see the Barbie movie,
You
you're
should.
wearing a hat, glasses, and hoodie.
Sunglasses, yeah. No one
Yeah.
will identify me as
Yeah.
going to see Barbie. Yeah, good point. All right. Very fun. What are your plans to see Dial of Destiny, by the way, Luke? Because I figured it'd be something you want to see with your fam.
I'll
Well,
probably
we're
see
obviously
it.
going.
I'll probably see it. I mean, I'll probably see it with you guys, unless you don't want me there, which is fine.
Or
I might.
or hear me out. We merge the two.
Well, you come as well. That would be insane.
Hang
I'll
out
probably
with Paul?
go. I'll probably go see it with my dad, and I might drive up and see it with my nana, because she loves the Indiana Jones movies as well. So that might be nice.
Yeah.
I'll cut
So
out
you're
where your
looking
nana
at-
lives as well, by the way.
Yeah, oh, yeah, please, yeah.
Sorry, Jaden's getting a hard task for his first gig today.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fair. So you're looking at potentially up to 3 times now in the cinema.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
We'll see how good
You
it
won't.
is.
You won't mind.
I don't think I will.
If it's good, you won't mind.
I mean, if I saw Ant-Man in the cinema twice, I think I can see Indiana Jones 3 times.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section or the Instagram comment section as well. Or join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is, what is your favourite found footage film? Let us know. We already had a bit of a debate prior to the episode of what exactly this means. Take it how you want. You know what I mean? Whatever you like. There are some webcam films out there. So, you can count those if you like as well. All right. That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Jaden, what are you doing next week?
Next week, Liam and I are only two of us, or perhaps Dr. Jones. I'm unclear on whether there'll be a return. We'll be taking on the Blair Witch Project. Unfortunately, and that's on Stan.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
No, this is a very exciting time for Cinema Effect. We're hitting untraversed territory.
Do you want like an announcement? What are you doing? do you want like an announcement?
I don't know. I'm just,
I'm not going to be
just-
around for the next few
Just
weeks.
teasing.
So,
I was just teasing.
Jade, oh, were you? Jade and Liam are going to nail it. They're going to hold it down. I'm very excited to listen. We've already established that listening is the best part of the show. So I'm very excited to listen to the upcoming episodes. Of course, watch the films alongside you all. I thought about downloading the Blair Witch Project for the plane, and I was like,
Nah, don't do it to yourself.
So,
Hey, it'll put you to sleep.
Actually, maybe I should. I've
Yeah.
still got room. So I don't know. We'll still consider it maybe. Also, I just wanted to quickly throw out there for anyone who gives a shit. Liam and I already recorded our Succession spoiler review 2 nights ago, which was a really fun time. It's going to be a beast to edit, which I'm looking forward to doing like next month or so. So that episode will release in about a month. So I'm just throwing out there, if anyone at all has ever considered watching Succession, you have a month and you can line it all up, and we're going to talk full spoilers. Just saying. It's up to you. Anyway, that's it. Appreciate you being here, Spooky Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Appreciate
my
you being
pleasure.
here, Jaden. Appreciate you editing this episode. I'm really scared.
Oh,
We'll
you
see
should
how
be.
it goes.
Yeah,
I'm really scared.
going up raw.
Don't know what other kind of sound files you're going to put in. We'll see. All right. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.